thinking about staying in Australia or trying to stay in Australia, it can absolutely cook your brain. So I had to leave. My visa was up on it. Went in October 2018. I would have had to have left by October 2020. I left in like mid-August or something because I got sacked from a call centre job. And I'd already booked my flight before I got sacked, but I had a girlfriend at the time who her visa was ending in like August or whatever, so I was going to go back earlier anyway. But if I would have been able to stay permanently, I would have stayed there. I had no, like, it was COVID as well. I've got no skills that are on the job list. And I didn't have any way of getting sponsored or anything. I did look into it a few times, but I was just a minefield, and when there was COVID, there was no jobs that were going to like get you sponsored or anything. But see, if someone came up to me at that time and said, "Here, would you break up your missus and not go home if I give you this, like any kind of job to stay here for 4 years?" I would have stayed. That sounds very harsh, but that I knew that relationship wasn't going to go anywhere anyway. Like, we lasted a month when we came back, but I would have absolutely went, yeah, I'll stay. Yeah, I'll sack off the flight. As harsh as that sounds, that's what I didn't want to go home. And it's funny because I was the one. There was maybe like 12 of us from all like my groups that were all kind of having to go home, and I was the one that was like the most like, because I was going home and I was going to start PTing, and I was quite excited about that. So I was the one that had their shit together the most about going back home, probably. And I was the most like, if you spoke to me about it, I probably sounded the most fine with going back home. And I was probably the one that dealt with it the worst. And I'm the only one, I think, that came back on that visa, like came back later. Everyone just settled back home, but I always wanted to go back. Leaving was up there with one of the worst phases of my life, 100%. Came back straight into the second lockdown from Sydney, and as I came into the second lockdown in Scotland, Sydney came out of their lockdown. All my mates were getting on boat parties, gallivanting, and I was sitting in a scheme outside of Glasgow, wanting to do bad things to myself. I would walk around the scheme, the council estate, and I would have like vivid flashbacks of just like fucking doing something near the Harbour Bridge or being at a party like near Bondi or something, and I would just genuinely start crying. The reason I can laugh is because I'm so far past that now, and like I'm fucking happy as fuck, and I have been for quite a while, because that's like, what, 3 years ago nearly now. What, it's so mad how quick it goes. But I would just sit, and I remember specifically sitting on a tree and crying for like 30 minutes. But I was locked down. I think everyone was just crying. But I was mostly crying about how much I missed Australia, but lockdown definitely heightened that so much more. So yeah, it was grim. And like, I always associated how sad I was with how much I thought I hated like living in Glasgow. But after I then moved to London for 9 months, I realised that's where the real hell is. I hated every second of being in London. I had this fantasy that I could recreate my Aussie life in London. How? You can't even get to like, it takes you 2 hours to get outside of concrete in London. And it's just horrible. Like, I just always felt like I want to go to a park in London where there's only like 5 people, and I was always be like, right, how do I get out? And it would be like a fucking hour and a half train to Surrey. I don't want to go to Surrey. And it'd be 80 quid. I'm like, right, I'll just stay in the concrete jungle then and hate my life. So I tried to do that. And then when I moved back to Glasgow, literally the day I went, do you know what? I can actually settle in Glasgow. Do you know what? I'll maybe just move back there and try that. And I was quite like, happy with it. I was like chilled out about it. I was like, get me out of this fucking shithole London where all you hear is just little guys in there. You know those people that wear the specs that don't need specs, and then they've got little Surrey accents. They're wearing like a Ralph Lauren like zip up, and they're like, yeah, we just made a deal today. Yeah, I'm gonna go up from 100k a year to 120k a year. Yeah, well, they actually more talk. Can't do it. You know the posh. That sounded like a wee fucking weirdo. But you know what I mean. Those Surrey cunts. Oh, listen to them. I just had enough of it. Came back to Glasgow, and the day I got back, I got my visa accepted for it to be my second year reinstated, and I waited a whole year to go back because I was actually quite happy. But then I ended up going back and trying to rekindle my love with my toxic ex-lover. I don't mean the ex-girlfriend I had, I mean the ex-country I had. That it was genuinely like going through a breakup, coming home. That's the way I would describe it. Flashbacks all the time. All I thought about was Australia, and all I thought about was how I was going to get her back.